Let's bring in Heritage Foundation Chief Economist and Unleash Prosperity Senior Fellow, E.J. Antoni, and former Deputy Treasury Secretary, Michael Faulkender. Gentlemen, great to see both of you. Michael, with the President Trump and the administration targeting, pulling back on some of the tariffs on the, say, the kitchen cabinets and furniture imports, is this the start of something even more that we could see? Are they teeing it up potentially for the Supreme Court decision that's on the horizon shortly?
I think what you're seeing is that there's a recognition that a lot of manufacturing got moved offshore in the previous 30 years, and the president's committed to bringing that back here to the United States. But that doesn't happen overnight. We don't have a lot of those facilities here. And as the administration recognizes what can be brought back, what can be made here immediately versus what's going to take a little bit more time to create that capacity here, you're going to see sector by sector modifications to the implementation and the timing of the implementation of the tariffs. I don't think it really has to do with the Supreme Court decision that's pending. If it is the case that the IEEPA tariffs, the tariffs that are done under emergency economic authority are overturned, there are a number of other legislative tools that the president has at his disposal, what are known as 232 tariffs or 301 tariffs, that can be implemented to realize a lot of the same outcome.
Okay, so part of the deal, EJ, was to try to make America a more attractive manufacturing base, right? So I got to ask you about minimum wage going up in the new year in 19 states. Now, I guess it depends how much it goes up. If it only goes up a little bit and it's not much more than the prevailing wage, maybe that doesn't make a big difference. But what do you make of the fact that you've got all these states ratcheting up minimum wage just at the point where there are a lot of workers saying, I don't want to compete against AI. I'd like a job. This doesn't seem to be working in their favor.
Well, Brian, you're exactly right. Look, if you want to replace workers with technology, the minimum wage is a terrific way to make that happen, as all of these different states previously were hiking their minimum wages and other states were doing it too. What happened to a lot of those entry-level jobs, the lower skilled levels of work? You started seeing businesses replace those employees with technology. At a lot of fast food restaurants, for example, they started replacing cashiers with touch screens. So now people go up and they order their own food, and yeah, there's still an employee who's cooking it in the back and bringing it out to you or bringing it to the drive-through window, whatever the case may be, but you have still eliminated jobs because of this. This is a surefire way to do the exact same thing. If you implement more of the same policy, expect more of the same result. And it just goes to show you, the real minimum wage is not whatever the government says it is, it's zero. This is only going to benefit those people who actually keep their jobs. It obviously hurts all those who lose their jobs. Fortunately, at the national level, we're seeing a lot of really good policy which will hopefully help counteract some of the negative effects of these minimum wage increases, whether that's regulatory reform or tax reform, you name it. But I think this administration has really moved full steam ahead when it comes to trying to make America a more business-friendly environment. And look, the more business-friendly your environment is, the more people it's going to employ.
Well, and also the states that are doing the right thing, and that is backing up the president's tax cuts for wages on tips, overtime, but also there are 9 states that are cutting individual income taxes this year. And surprise, surprise, not blue states. But before we go, liberal rag, Washington Post, says the data does not support the Trump administration's claims of a boom for native-born workers.
So this comes after native-born workers have reaped all the gains in the job market this year, a welcome change from the Biden years with more than 2.6 million native-born jobs added in 2025, and foreign-born workers lost 21,000 jobs. So, Michael, you got the Washington Post kind of saying, we don't agree with that data. You're reading it the wrong way. Americans want to know, are Americans getting jobs? Are foreigners getting jobs? How does that all play out? How do you read the data?
So I've looked at that very table. I pulled it up earlier today, and it's very clear that if you look at from November of 2024 to November of 2025, that 1 year time change for which we have the information, The administration's, what they're saying about the job growth is exactly correct. It was all by native-born Americans, whereas all of the job growth during the Biden administration was from foreign-born workers. And it just shocks me as, well, I shouldn't be shocked when I hear that the Washington Post is usually one who says, you know, we need to save the sanctity of data that's created by the career staffers at places like the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But in this case, because it's a number that supports the Trump administration's position, all of a sudden they're attacking the very career employees at the Bureau of Labor Statistics that usually they're looking to defend. So I find it really shocking. Again, I shouldn't be shocked that we have the Washington Post just going after the administration and going after the numbers when it doesn't support their liberal agenda.
EJ and Michael, great to see both of you. Oh, and also, what did President Trump do? Biggest one-year drop in homicides ever. How about that? That's a boom. That's a boom for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, fellas. Good to see you.